Hey everyone and welcome back. Today's exciting because I just got my hands on a new R6 Mark II. Very excited to get to really dissect this camera over the next few weeks, so if that's something you're interested in, make sure to go below, subscribe, click that notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. Today we're going to jump right into the menus and show you how to customize your buttons and settings for back button autofocus for wildlife or sports photography. First thing I want you to do is turn your dial to manual mode, then go into your menu. Navigate over to the Autofocus tab, and on page 1, make sure you have Autofocus Operation set to Servo for moving subjects. Then I want you to go down to Whole Area Tracking, Servo Autofocus, and I want you to turn it off. Now this is similar to what was called subject tracking on the R7, and it seems counterintuitive to shut this off because this is what triggers the tracking software. But trust me, we want this off because we're going to be mapping specific buttons to trigger the tracking autofocus, and if this is on, it will override the single point autofocus. And for dual back button autofocus, like I'm about to show you, we don't want this overriding our single point autofocus, so make sure to turn it off. Another very cool feature of the R6 Mark II is that now we can set the subject to detect to auto, allowing the software to find and switch between different types of subjects. I then move over to page 2, and you can see here that by default the camera is set to again auto, allowing the software to select the best possible settings automatically for your specific cases. Okay, now let's move over to the camera tab and over to page 3. Here you'll see the option for customized buttons. Go ahead and select it, and now you'll see all of the buttons available for customization. First up, let's change the front shutter button. Go into here and select Metering Start. This will uncouple your focus from your shutter button, so now when you press your front shutter button, it will only meter on the half press and take the image on the full press. But no longer will it trigger the actual focusing mechanism. Next, scroll on down to the star button, select it and set this to eye detection autofocus. Now you have set the star button to trigger your eye detection or tracking autofocus. We also have left your autofocus on button on default, so whatever focus method you have selected as your main focus method can be triggered with this button. Now you see why it's called dual back button autofocus. Your autofocus on button triggers your main autofocus method. Usually spot autofocus is my preference, and your star button triggers your tracking autofocus. The beauty of this setup is that you can now very easily and quickly switch between triggering back button spot or eye tracking whenever the scenario calls for it. I also like to scroll down to my set button, and I set this to set autofocus point to center. Once you have all of these settings finished, you're fully set up for dual back button autofocus, and I would encourage you to save these settings into your C settings. But remember, whatever the exact settings are at the time of saving these settings into your C settings, your camera will always revert back to these exact settings. And I mean your shutter speed, your white balance, literally everything. So make sure you have all of your settings set to a base level that you're comfortable starting from when you first turn it on. I hope this video helped you out a little bit with setting up dual back button autofocus. If it did, don't forget to go below, subscribe, click that notification bell, and I'll see you on my next video.